Welcome back to another episode of Insights with Vinny Mac. My name is Vince, aka Vinny Mac. Thank you very much for joining me for another episode, another insight. I really love having you here. I really love sharing these insights with you. I know a lot of people are already getting value from these insights because from the feedback and especially the conversations that I've had, I can see people are experiencing that paradigm shift. So thank you very much for that feedback. If you are new to my channel or if you haven't yet, please by all means subscribe to the channel. Drop me your feedback. I would love to hear from you. I would love to engage with you. And also like the channel. You're helping me generate or helping me make the channel more available to more people on YouTube and trying to show YouTube that people are looking for insights. They can help them unlock their lives, take them from where they are to where they are capable of being. So every interaction on my channel does help a lot. Thank you very, very much. Today I want to speak to you about technically the last miracle mentioned in the book of Mark. This was just before Jesus got crucified, and it ties in very much with the conversation that we're having today. Our conversation today is actually based on expectations. We all have expectations. We either have good expectations or bad expectations, but we all have expectations on a day-to-day basis. Now, after watching this particular insight, you will have that understanding and that awareness of actually paying attention to the expectations that you have in mind and the impact that they have on your life in a day-to-day basis. So let's just first touch on the story of blind Bartimaeus, and we'll bring it into context in terms of expectations and how that affects your life. You see, the story around blind Bartimaeus was that he was sitting outside it was Jerusalem where Jesus was passing through, and the crowd as per usual was following Jesus as well. And when Bartimaeus heard that Jesus was coming through, he was like starting to shout, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Now, here the variables already start playing in, because the expectation of the people was Bartimaeus is blind because either he sinned or his family sinned, his parents sinned, and that caused him to be born into blindness. This is the one aspect of it, right? So the expectation was already that he did not deserve to get healed. The next aspect that we need to look at and that we need to understand, because I didn't know this or understood this, which makes the story so much more relevant. You see, in the time of Bartimaeus, in the time of Jesus, in the old ancient civilization, if I can put it that way, the government used to hand out cloaks to those that are disabled, physically disabled. So if you were blind, if you were lame, if you were a leper, if you were deaf, they would give you a cloak that you would put over yourself, and that would signify or give you permission to sit and beg on the streets. Now, he was also sitting there with his cloak and he was like begging, and when he heard Jesus came past, he realized his expectations changed. So instead of expecting money and charity from people, he expected healing. He expected to be relieved or released from this prison of blindness. So when Jesus came past and he was like asking Jesus to heal him and the crowd were hushing him, instead of keeping quiet and falling prey to their expectations, he spoke louder. He said, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. And then Jesus stopped and he told him, bring him to me. And then when he got to Jesus, Jesus said to him, what is it that you want me to do for you? And he says, what, this is my expectation. I expect you to heal me. I want you to heal me. And Jesus' words to him was, your faith has made you well. This is where the expectation part comes into play in such a big way. And this is where most of us miss the plot. I missed the plot for the longest part of my life as well. So, whatever you are expecting on a day-to-day basis, that is the outcomes that you are going to receive in your life. For example, I used to work in the service industry for the greatest part of my corporate career. And because I had expectations in that industry, I was reaping the rewards of those expectations. When my mindset was focused on excelling in the business and growing in the business, then my expectations were, I'm going to do well, I'm going to grow in the business, and then that was the rewards that I was reaping in my life, because I had shifted my belief, my thinking to that expectation, expecting that particular outcome. When I got to a point where I was starting to stagnate in the service industry, where it just wasn't that anymore for me, my expectation and my beliefs started changing. Suddenly the bosses that I was working for were like, tyrants. They weren't people that I really enjoyed working for. Suddenly the job itself was just monotonous. It wasn't enjoyable anymore. So what was the rewards that was coming into my life? I was manifesting all kinds of negativity. I was starting to interact with difficult clients all of a sudden coming across my way. Whereas I was able to handle them with so much I don't know the correct word right now, but I could always handle them with such ease, relevant ease in the past. All of a sudden, every single thing of these difficult customers used to annoy me. Why? My expectations changed, and the minute my expectations changed, my outcome started changing. I started manifesting all the wrong kind of things in my life, and that is why I grew so frustrated in the service industry. Another example is with my daughter, with her writing her final exams, her final schooling exams. The reality is there's so much pressure on our kids when they write these final exams, and a lot of them just totally lose it during these times of exams. So I started changing the conversations with her around these exams right now. And I started shifting her beliefs and her expectations around these exams. So instead of, pointing and saying, well, we didn't learn this in the scope, we didn't learn that in the scope, I told her, every time you write an exam, every time you write a paper, and I give her this little pep talk before every big paper. Change your expectation of what the paper means to you. Stop saying that, but they didn't bring this, or they didn't teach us this, they didn't teach us that, and what if this comes into the paper, and what if that comes into the paper? Change your expectation. See yourself as enjoying the paper, that you're having fun writing the paper, that you have the privilege of actually showing up at school and writing your final exams. Most kids don't even make it to the final year of schooling. You actually made it to the final year of schooling. Now you're at the forefront of your final examinations. Now you're busy commencing with your final examinations. This is the commencement of the rest of your life. So enjoy each and every single paper. It's such a shift, a dynamic shift in your thinking now in terms of the examinations compared to the previous exams that you wrote in this very same grade, where there was this expectation of, what if I don't do well? What if I don't get the marks? We shifted that thinking, we shifted that belief. I've been working with her the whole year, and now she's at such a point that after every paper, when we discuss the paper and I ask, what did you really enjoy about the paper, this particular aspect? I don't ask her how did you write and how was the paper, because that just brings the negativity again into it. I ask, what did you enjoy about the paper? And then you should hear the responses, the answers that comes back from her. You see, she starts lighting up and she starts explaining to me all the things that she actually enjoyed about the particular paper. That is called a shift in expectations, right? And that is what is possible for you, for me, for each and every single one of us. Whether you have a marriage that's falling apart, whether you have a business that is not doing well, whether you have children that are acting rebellious, whether you have a boss that is difficult in terms of your work, your expectation is going to manifest whatever it is that you want to bring in your life. So don't you think you owe it to yourself to have expectation of goodness coming into your life, to shift that belief of what is actually possible? You see, once you shift that belief, because your thoughts are seeds being sown into fertile ground, whatever you plant in that ground is going to come up immediately. So if you want to change the fruit in your life, then you need to start changing the roots. You need to start changing the seeds that you are planting into the ground. So change the expectations that you have for situations. Be like blind Bartimaeus. Throw away that coat that signifies that you are disabled. Throw away that coat that signifies you are in bondage, and have that expectation. Run up to your salvation. Your salvation is the answer that lies within you, and only you can bring that answer to the forefront. But you need to have that expectation. You need to have that belief that it is possible that you can do this. And once you do that, it's like, what I do with my life is I live my life with expectant gratitude. Even though things don't move in my life at the rate I want them to move, even though changes don't happen at the times that I want them to happen, I still have that expectancy that change is happening, that change has happened in my life. And because I have that expectancy, my thinking, my interacting with the world around me is completely different to what it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. And that's a simple change that I made in my life. You can make that change right now in your life, and you will start reaping the fruits right now in your life, because once you start changing your expectations, once you start changing the interpretation that you give to outcomes in your life, then you're going to start seeing better results in your life immediately, instantaneously. There's no waiting period for that. It is an instant return on your life. So change your expectations, change your beliefs. Now your beliefs are shaping your behaviors in life, and your behaviors in turn are shaping your habits, and your habits are responsible for the outcomes that you currently have in your life. So when you start changing these expectations, you're actually changing it on a granular level, your roots on a granular level. changing the seeds on a granular level. And thus the fruits that are produced in your life are completely different. So change the expectations that you have of your life. Understand that we are told by researchers that we have 30,000 to 70,000 thoughts flowing through our heads on a day-to-day basis. I can't tell you how many of those thoughts are expectations that we have. Expectations for good and expectations for bad. But they are there on a day-to-day basis. We have these expectations. And when you start changing these expectations, then you will start impacting your life in a major way, and you're going to see positive results in your life. I really hope that you got value from this particular insight, and I would love to hear from you, your thoughts with regards to this, because we all do have expectations and they do affect our lives each and every single day. So drop me your feedback, drop me your comments. I would love to hear from you. And again, if you haven't, by all means, please do subscribe to the channel. As I said, it will just help me reach a wider audience as well. So thank you very much for your feedback. Thank you very much for your support. This is Vinnie Max saying, change your thinking, change your world.